Up next on UBC, brought to you by...
Keep the lights on. Use Airtel Money to pay for all your Yaka bills conveniently. Open the My Airtel app to buy Yaka units. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.
Hello and good evening once again. Welcome to the UBC News at 10. My name is Wadulo Arnold Wadulo Muhammad on sign language, and without further ado, let's take a look at tonight's top stories. In our top stories tonight, the Archbishop Ntagali at the mercy of canon law. Still in our news tonight, international media advised to double-check their facts on Uganda. Furthermore, UPDF elects its MPs for the 11th Parliament. And Dominic Ongwen verdict set for the 4th of February 2021. All these in our news tonight, and thank you for joining us. Now the news in detail. The Uganda People's Defence Forces Council has today elected new representatives to the 11th Parliament. Now, in a meeting held at the Land Forces headquarters in Bombo, the Commander-in-Chief, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, called upon the new members of Parliament to support the 7 key priorities. And those include equipping the army, roads, railway and water, electricity, health, education, salaries for the scientists and armed forces, and wealth funds. Now, equipping our armed forces to be second to none in our region of Africa, and I will not compromise on that, said General Museveni. He added that the Army's MPs are in Parliament to be a conveyor belt for the national issues and to be listening posts. He added that this is on the account of the history of Uganda, which is like no other African country, which had become ungovernable and a failed state. The members of the Constituent Assembly found it wise to include 10 members of Parliament to represent the UPDF.
We are here to elect the 10 UPDF members of Parliament. In this government, in this new government, I would insist on my priorities. And my priorities are like 7. Number 1, equipping the armed forces. Our armed forces must be equipped to be second to none in the region of Africa. And I will not compromise with anybody on that. Secondly, to continue budgeting for the roads and the railway. The third one is electricity. The fourth one is health. Number 6 is salaries for scientists. Then number 7, the wealth funds. Some of these young people, we introduced Operation Wealth Creation.
Now, congratulations to the UPDF for holding a successful election. The newly elected members of parliament to represent the Uganda People's Defense Forces include the 3 women on the slot, who are Colonel Dr. Victor Nekesa, Lieutenant Colonel Charity Babo, Major Dr. Jennifer Alanyo, and the 7 slots for male representatives were taken by General David Muhoozi, General Edward Katumba Wamala, Lieutenant General Wilson Mbasumbadi, Lieutenant General Peter Elwelu, Lieutenant General James Mujira, Major General Henry Matsiko, Major General Sam Kavuma. Now, the UPDF family congratulates the winners in this exercise. Furthermore, the House of Bishops of the Church of Uganda has said retired Archbishop Stanley Ntagali, who recently confessed to involving in extramarital affairs with a married woman, will be handled in accordance with the church laws. Now, the chairperson of the communication from bishops was made at a press conference held at the provincial secretariat Namirembe following a sitting that was held at Lueza, Wakiso district on the 28th day of January 2021.
Ntagali, who recently retired from Episcopal ministry in August, recently confessed to sleeping with a married woman against church practice. In a 13th January letter, the current Archbishop, Right Reverend Stephen Kazimba, suspended Ntagali from apostolic service, having acted contrarily to the vows and commitments he championed. The bishops affirmed that Ntagali committed the sin of adultery, which must be handled in accordance with the canons of the Church of Uganda.
The House resolved that Bishop Stanley Ntagali be handled in accordance with the canons of the Church of Uganda. The House appointed a team to minister to the respective parties and their family members.
According to Ivan Naijuka, the communications officer, Kampala Diocese, prescribed suspension from service if a person is found guilty of sin. But also, excommunication from service can be a penalty, especially for adultery.
I think the law within the Church of Uganda does not exclude anybody. Archbishop is not being handled in the high-handedness. It's being handled according to what the canons say. The House upheld the statement made by Archbishop Samuel Kazimba, noting that by the statement he made, he was implementing a decision that had previously been agreed upon by the House of Bishops.
The Church of Uganda House of Bishops has exclusive powers to recall the culprit to service if he or she repents his or her sins. The House of Bishops condemned the Ntagali's act and acknowledged it as a sin of an individual in the person of Bishop Ntagali Stanley.
The House of Bishops condemned the act and acknowledged it as a sin of an individual in the person of Bishop Stanley Ntagali. The Church of Christ remains healthy and spotless.
However, they said that the Church of Christ remains healthy and spotless. The House also upheld a statement made by Archbishop Kazimba on the 13th January 2021, noting that by indefinitely suspending Ntagali from priestly duties, he was implementing a decision that had previously been agreed upon by the House.
The House appointed a team to minister to the respective parties and their family members. So both parties have been catered for in terms of spiritual edification. In this state, do not think that nobody is helping to speak to the both parties in the spiritual manner. They are being catered for, so they are not left alone.
In the latest statement issued, it was noted that the House of Bishops appointed a team to minister and provide counseling to both Ntagali family and the woman's family members. Deborah Namamonde and Helen Barbara for UBC News.
Now, in other news, Ugandans have been called upon to desist from promoting negative sentiments that could compromise the country's security. The State Minister for Information and National Guidance, Peter Ogwang, urges aggrieved political players to seek legal redress. Now, in this report, Ogwang also put on notice the international press to report objectively on Ugandan matters. Let's take a look.
And there's no any other problem which is within the country called Uganda as of now.
Contrary to what had been anticipated in the negative,
Uganda is peaceful from one point to another.
No serious cases of violence were reported both during and after general elections recently held in Uganda.
Uganda will remain peaceful up to tomorrow.
This is the status quo that State Minister for Information and National Guidance, Peter Ogwang, wants Ugandans to maintain.
The country is moving on well. So I want to commend and challenge the rest of our political actors, our friends who are in the opposition. Problems of Uganda can never be solved outside Uganda. Problems of Uganda will be solved within Uganda.
Ogwang is concerned with the recent acts of attempting to provoke the police and other security agencies, which could compromise the country's security.
World over, I want to put this on record. Nobody is allowed to stone any personnel who is in uniform, carrying out his day-to-day duty. World over, the demonstrations are allowed, but there is no demonstration which becomes rioters, and we leave those things to go unchecked.
In a similar way, he has made an appeal to the international media and development partners on matters concerning Uganda.
If one or two mistakes have been committed by our said personnel in terms of human rights violation, I want to say this. The laws are clear. The person is held personally liable for mistakes which have been committed.
This call follows unverified reports of human rights violations during the electoral exercise, as raised by members of parliament on Thursday.
I direct the Committee on Human Rights take stock of the human rights violations that marred the electoral process and report back to this House within 1 month.
As the Speaker referred the matter to the Human Rights Committee of Parliament, the call to both successful and unsuccessful contenders is to embrace life after elections.
The Constitution of the Republic of Uganda has remedies which gives you mandate to challenge both presidential, parliamentary and local government election in a civilized manner by going to court. And as you all know that in Uganda here we have 3 arms of government: the executive, the legislature and the judiciary.
The recent elections saw incumbent President Yoweri Museveni emerge victorious against his closest challenger, Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu.
As a country, we must tell our people now to get back to normal day-to-day work.
According to Minister Ogwang, what now remains is to talk less and work more. Henry Okrut, UBC.
Talk less and work more. Now, furthermore, the International Criminal Court is set to deliver a verdict in the trial of Dominic Ongwen on 4th February 2021. Due to public interest in this case, the International Criminal Court will this time provide a video link in some parts of northern Uganda for community viewing. Now, Dominic Ongwen is charged with 70 counts, including war crimes, crimes against humanity, among other offenses. The alleged offenses were committed in northern Uganda. Details follow in this report.
It's now over 10 years since the trial of Dominic Ongwen at the International Criminal Court in Hague. The prosecution was concluded last year. Dominic Ongwen is facing 70 charges of war crimes and crimes against humanity, among others. However, he pleaded not guilty to the said offense. After pursuing both side submissions for a period of 10 years, International Criminal Court is set to deliver a verdict in the trial of Dominic Ongwen on 4th February 2021. According to Camara, this time International Criminal Court will provide a video link for the session to enable communities view the live proceedings.
in Gulu 3 centers, and keep in mind only a population of 200, maximum of 200, will be able to attend one screening.
Over 200 hearings were conducted in this case, where prosecution presented 69 witnesses to pin the accused Dominic Ongwen.
The lawyer for Dominic Ongwen, the lead counsel, Crispus Ayena Odongo, together with his team, presented 54 witnesses. The lawyers for the victims in total of them, 4,095 as of June 2020, presented a total of 7 witnesses and experts before the judges.
But what will happen to Ongwen if he is found guilty or acquitted with the charges?
The maximum sentence will be 30 years imprisonment. The ICC cannot give the death penalty. It is not within the ambit of the Rome Statute for the judges to deliver such a verdict.
Dominic Ongwen surrendered himself to authorities in January 2015. However, his leader, Joseph Kony, Okot Odiambo, and others escaped arrest since then. The judgment will be delivered by the Committee of Judges, headed by Justice Bertram Skemit as the presiding judge. The 3 judges had to ensure fairness of the trial and that the rights of both parties and of the victims are respected. The said offences were committed in areas of Acholi, Gulu, Lila, among others. Lydia Chomkama, Deborah Namamonde, UBC News.
A section of leaders in Isinjiro district want President Museveni to institute a committee of inquiry into the recently concluded general elections to establish whether genuinely the people of Isinjiro voted or not. Now, they also want him to investigate the actions of highly placed executive member of cabinet whom they accuse of being at the center of confusion that marred the Isinjiro elections. Short of that, the leaders do not rule out likely defections to the opposition in the NRM stronghold Bess of Isinjiro district. Details in this report.
Isinjiro district has been at crossroads ever since the just concluded presidential and parliamentary elections. Endless demonstrations spilling over to other constituencies have been witnessed, with the electorates disputing the outcomes of the parliamentary polls. A section of the leaders in the district now want President Museveni to institute a committee of inquiry to ascertain the cause of this unrest.
I'm here to appeal to His Excellency the President to put in place a committee to come and investigate whether really the so-called candidate Rwamirama and other so-called people who went through in Isinjiro and those who are frustrated, were the elections as they're supposed to be, as enshrined in the Constitution of Uganda and the NRM Constitution? Were there elections? Was it pre-ticking or there was elections?
The leaders claim many of the people never exercised their constitutional right to vote leaders of their choice. The demonstrations in the district are an outward expression of dissatisfaction of the electoral results.
We're likely to have an explosion of opposition within Isinjiro. I appeal to the President to come and investigate this so that people their hearts can be put to rest, so that people can be assured that there is a government behind them. Otherwise, we all are looking now, if, for example, you are not needing before Wamirama, you can't survive in Isinjiro.
Otherwise, the bitterness, the anger that is in Isinjiro as I'm speaking now, if the opposition can take advantage of that, as I'm speaking now, to register members of the opposition in Isinjiro, NRM party would be very, very, very surprised and shocked.
The all pinpoint at a prominent member of the executive hailing from the region, whom they accuse of masterminding the elections to have his own people go through.
If you can know the actions of Rwamirama behind doors, you will believe me that Rwamirama's plan from now onwards is to ensure that he overthrows the government, he overthrows the NRM, renders the NRM unpopular, and eventually he takes over.
Speaking to a local TV station recently, State Minister Bright Rwamirama insisted that elections in Isinjiro were free and fair.
Somebody making those allegations is just a loser, maybe who is trying to hide behind the truth.
Rwamirama was also quick at challenging those holding a contrary view to adduce evidence of the alleged vote rigging and ballot stuffing.
And let him tender evidence. Those are just mere allegations. I'm a senior cadre I know what it means to support your party.
Despite of the challenge placed before them, to the contrary, the leaders also accuse Rwamirama for undermining the will of the people by supporting independent candidates as opposed to the NRM principles. It's against this background that they want President Museveni to investigate him.
The president can cause investigations and we all go and audit the actions of Rwamirama. Rwamirama's actions, if you can see the number of people he supports, he's the one who has brought FDC in Isinjiro, he has brought NUP in Isinjiro.
Accusations right there, but eventually the truth, we hope, always comes out. Let's take a short break and we'll return with more news tonight. Stay tuned.
You may have heard of physical distancing. This means keeping at least 2 arms length apart from other people at all times to reduce the spread of coronavirus. But why is it so important? Without physical distancing, each person infected with coronavirus will infect 2 to 3 others. Each of these people go on to infect 2 to 3 more, who each go on to infect another 2 or 3 people, and so on. Within a month, the infection will spread from 1 to 406 people. But if each person halves the number of people they come into close contact with, the number of infections drops dramatically. Each person would only infect 1 or sometimes 2 people, and each of those infected people would only infect 1 or occasionally 2 more. So the disease spreads much more slowly. In a month, the infection would only spread from 1 to 15 people. That's the power of physical distancing. Keep at least 2 arms length distance from as many people as you can to reduce infections and save lives. That way you protect yourself, the people you love, and your country.
This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field couldn't be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
What do you need as a voter on polling day? Here are the requirements to vote. Present yourself to the polling station where you are registered as a voter. Present your voter identification documents. This could be your national identity card or your voter location slip. If you do not have any of the above, you can still be assisted by the presiding officer to check and confirm your particulars on the National Voters Register. The presiding officer will authenticate your identity using the biometric voter verification machine. After verification, you will be issued with a ballot paper. Proceed to the Benson and mark the candidate of your choice using either the tick or the thumbprint. Fold the ballot paper lengthwise as shown by the presiding officer. Proceed to the ballot box and carefully insert the ballot paper inside. The polling assistant will mark the cuticle of your finger to indicate that you have voted. Exercise your right to choose your leaders. Please note that the polling station opens at 7 a.m. in the morning and closes at 4 p.m. in the evening. Please get your polling station in time to vote. Also, please visit www.ec.or.ug for more information on your voter details. This message is brought to you by the Electoral Commission.
Welcome Welcome back. You're still watching the news tonight, broadcasting live from Nile Avenue, also on YouTube under the name tag UBC TV Uganda. Now in more news tonight, the NRM leaders in Luwero district, specifically in Chichusa sub-county, want the party secretariat to embark on empowering the party structures at village levels to strengthen the party structures in the post-general election era, which they say have been weakened over the time. Now where the NRM leaders in the cradle land of the 1981-1986 revolution that brought the NRM to power maintained that the party is still strong at the grassroots. They were quick at singling out the need to revamp the structures through organizing induction seminars for the elected committee to enable them to be patriotic to the party.
Years since 1986 to date, according to the NRM leaders in Luwero district, is still popular and powerful in Uganda, despite the fact that it lost in the central region, unlike the previous general elections across the country. The just concluded presidential, parliamentary and local council election results indicated that NRM lost even in its strongholds, especially in Uganda, and this forced some leaders in Luwero to come out immediately to forge a way forward to rebuild the party. Here in Chichusa sub-county, the NRM leaders say the party will reclaim its strongholds in Uganda. However, the NRM secretariat needs first to emphasize revamping, empowering and strengthening the party structures at village levels across the country.
When you look at our structures, NRM structures, right from the villages, they are not functioning. They are no longer functioning. You find that somebody is called himself the chairman NRM, he was given a bicycle for NRM, is an agent for Chagulanyi Robert. You wonder. You find somebody is called himself the chairman NRM sub-county, but he's supporting Chagulanyi. I wonder. Please, President, we need to swear in May, we need to go back to the village, to the grassroots. What Dr. Muyinga has done in Bamnanika County, though some have appreciated, but others have undermined what the man has done. But I pray to God such that Dr. Muyingo can continue with the programs he was moving. Thank you very much. Thank you, President Museveni. Thank you, Dr. Muyingo. Thank you, Honorable Sen.
They also want in these 5 years the NRM government to work on the challenges which affected the party in the just concluded elections, which include rampant land evictions, bad road networks, lack of power in some rural areas, and unemployment amongst the youth. This was during the celebrations of 35 years since NRM took over power of this country, organized by the chairman of chairpersons from the 41 villages in Chichusa sub-county, Zephaniah Chiza Seninde, which also coincided with the way forward of developing the area after the elections.
I took the initiative to invite all the leaders of this sub-county. First of all, we are celebrating the 35 years of NRM. That was the main purpose of calling them. Secondly, I called them to talk and question them not to disrespect the leaders who have been just elected. Let us respect them. Let us work together with them. Here we have the chairman LC1 from the sub-county. We have the chairman LC2. We have the opinion leaders. We have the government workers. We have all kinds of sorts of leaders.
Chiza Seninde also cautioned the newly elected members of parliament from the opposition in Luwero district against opposing government for all the 5 years they are going to spend in leadership positions, but encouraged them to build a better working relationship with government to enable quality service delivery to the people and the area. However, Seninde was also quick at appealing to NRM supporters in the region to respect the elected leaders despite of their political affiliations. He also stressed them to prepare children to go back to school as soon as government allows schools to reopen, but not forgetting complying with the SOPs to prevent the COVID-19 pandemic, which is still a reality.
COVID is still there. We need to see how we are going to prepare our children. That's why you see I've given them package which will help them to take back the children to school. That was the main purpose, celebration, and question them, and to tell them to respect the leaders who have been just elected, and maybe to learn how to work together. Because we need development. We need to work on our roads, we need water, we need schools, we need electricity, and the president is there to help us. Why don't we use this chance? So, thank you so much.
Now from Chichusa, we bring you back to the Central, where the Katikiro of Buganda Kingdom, Charles Peter Maiga, has appealed to all subjects of the Kabaka of Buganda to adopt teaching technology to learners to compete on the world job market. The Katikiro Maiga made the call during the 15th graduation ceremony of Buganda Royal Institute of Business and Technical Education at Kakeka, Mengo.
It was all joy here at the Uganda Royal Institute of Business and Technical Education Kakeka Mengo, while students were conferred with degrees in different professional disciplines during the 15th graduation ceremony. The chief guest, the Katikiro of Uganda, Charles Peter Maiga, presided over the graduation ceremony of awarding diplomas and certificates to graduates. He, however, emphasized the need of using technology in institutions.
I urge the Council and Management to embrace technology and research as an aspect of training the students. There is need for the graduates to continue the research to be able to meet the trending demands and to offer the relevant services required in the outer world.
He says this graduation has taken place amidst challenges of COVID-19 and advised students to follow SOPs in the prevention of the pandemic. Katikiro also reminded them that in the presence of COVID, AIDS still exist and called upon them to take precautionary measures in avoiding the scourge.
So listen to the experts and don't forget that other diseases are still here with us. AIDS, for example. If there is anyone here who doesn't know how AIDS spreads, I'll talk to him or her after here. We do not want to lose your lives at the prime age when the kingdom, when Uganda and the world expect a lot from you.
The Minister of Education in the Uganda Kingdom, Prosperous Nachindu Kavuma, challenged the graduates to use skills acquired to set up their own small businesses.
The government of Uganda recognizes the importance of vocational education in our country, and I'm aware that the policies and legal frameworks for vocational training are in place, but we do call upon the government to partner and finance private institutions, especially with the provision of latest technology necessary in the training and skilling of our students in this era where we need technology most.
The principal to the institute, Anthony Wamala, said COVID-19 has affected much of the programs at the institute and the parents' income to an extent that some students did not return after lockdown.
2020 will remain in our minds because of the havoc caused by COVID-19. We thank God, those of us who have survived this pandemic so far.
The Bishop of Mityana Diocese, James Bukomeko, prayed for the country to overcome satanic acts that are showing up in communities.
Prostitution, adultery, witchcraft, among others. Help us, Lord, to surrender all to you humbly at your feet, Jesus, we bow.
But what did the graduates say upon being conferred with diplomas and certificates?
I thank the Almighty God. He has done it for me. He has done a very great job in me. I'm now a graduate. Those who said that Nzoroso's Wamala Marvin cannot do it, I have done it.
For my contestants of Miss Kavi, I feel so happy. Kubanga, nusekuna kuno. Sanyulia mani nyo, okuwa malizo kusoma kwange tebiwadde. Musanyifu nnyo okulabanga maliriza misomo gyange.
Over 700 students have graduated in diploma and certificates. Andrew Sebira compiled this report.
Well, congratulations to the students right there. Education, achieving that level is not easy. I myself know that. Now, the former royal guards of Omusinga Charles Wesley Mumbere of Omusinga Bwarens Ruru that were released on court bail have been warned on dodging court sessions. Now, this was sounded today by the Grade 1 Magistrate Oti Moses during their first attendance of court that was held in Rukochi at Kasese District Headquarters. Let's take a look.
The 132 royal guards who were released at the beginning of this month have started reporting to their respective magistrate courts in their separate districts today. The arrested people hail from various districts of Kasese, Ntoroko, Bunyangabu, Kabalore and Bundubujo, respectively. Upon their release on bail last month, the royal guards were asked to always report to the chief magisterial areas in their respective districts every last Friday of the month as stipulated in their bail application. In Kasese, 87 royal guards stand up at the chief magistrate's court for the hearing of their cases.
The total number that was released on bail on 8th January was 132. And they come from various parts of the Rwenzori region, as I've just mentioned. Kasese, Bundubujo, Ntoroko, Akabarole. The Kasese group comprises 90 who have reported today, who have registered today. Yeah? As you can see, they have just been granted, the condition was that they report every last Friday of every month.
Court chaired by Grade 1 Magistrate Moses Otim resolved that the royal guards should report back to court on 26th February this year. However, he warned them on dodging court, adding that each person should be reporting in person. Mumbere Edmond, however, cited the need for the government to also consider releasing the remaining bunch of the royal guards so that they can also be reunited with their families. He revealed that they were affably welcomed by the people in their respective communities despite finding very new things which they are trying to adopt too.
It is also now our appeal to the concerned persons that really the number that remained in prisons, really it is our prayer also that let them see the happiness we are seeing so far in our communities. So I also appeal to my fellow brothers and sisters who were released on 8th January 2021 that really let's also resemble the freedom that we have found in our communities.
The team leader also urged his fellow victims to become ambassadors of peace in their respective communities, also asking them to put to use the hand skills they acquired in their 4 years in prison. The Rwenzori Kingdom spokesperson John Thawite urged all the released royal guards in their respective districts to make sure they always report to their chief magisterial courts as their application reads. The 132 royal guards are part of over 200 people that were arrested during the November 2016 joint security raid on the Rwenzori Kingdom Palace, along with the Omusinga Charles Wesley Mumbere on various criminal charges. Mutabali Moses, Helen Barajizamba, UBC News.
Of course, those charges included treason. Now, still in the West, Daystar Cathedral Mbarara has launched a new ministry known as Daystar International Ministries, which makes it an independent ministry from the Pentecostal churches of Uganda. The Daystar International Ministries will be headed by Bishop Nathan Ibrahim Turiamurebe in Uganda as General Superintendent, with the head offices in the state of Alabama in the United States of America. Now, Bishop Nathan Ibrahim Turiamurebe of Daystar Cathedral Mbarara said that he has been working with Pentecostal churches of Uganda for the last 25 years as a regional representative for Western Uganda, but have separated from the Pentecostal Church of Uganda in good faith, noting that those who wish to join them are free.
Pentecostals of Uganda and Daystar Cathedral, we have been in the same denomination, but right now Pentecostals of Uganda and Daystar International Ministries, we are going to be kingdom mind or kingdom partners. We'll be in the same fellowship, same relationship, and the same friendship. The only what has changed is that I will not be answerable to them because now we've been able to establish our own denomination. Now, We have so many ministries, Pentecostal ministries in Uganda, and some of them are registered and some of them are an umbrella under NAFOBAC and other under BAF. So these international ministries would either be with NAFOBAC or with the BAF. We are going to decide that in our decision-making executive committee.
Our souls together.
And the news tonight shall take a short commercial break. When we return, we'll be back with business. So stay tuned.
Connect to the world for free on Ayoba. Chat with friends for free. Play games all day for free. Jam to Ziki for free. You can also send money through Ayoba. Absolutely no MBs needed. To download the app, visit www.mtn.co.ug/mymtn and select Ayoba.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Welcome back. It's now time for business. In the world of business, oil and gas stakeholders from the public and private sector have launched a micro, small and medium enterprises business linkages project. Now, the initiative, which focuses on empowering local business communities, seeks to ensure that the benefits of the oil and gas resource reach wider populations. Let's take a look.
Small and medium enterprises business linkages on East African crude oil pipeline project along the East African crude oil pipeline aims at enabling the business community benefit from the oil and gas sector. It is estimated that the project will create about 500 jobs along the pipeline.
As a result of the discovery of oil and gas resources in Uganda and the planned investments to develop these resources, including the ECOP, there is an expectation of a significant economic upturn, as well as the creation of new jobs and business opportunities. The reality, however, will be different if the local MSMEs do not have the capacity and experience to participate in oil and gas activities.
By the time the work starts, we should have done enough ground to ensure that these Ugandans can participate. Now, the participation this project is about is not specifically participation of individuals, but it is a participation of business enterprises. And business enterprises and the private sector are a very important aspect of Uganda's growth. That's why this is a very important project in that regard.
Funded by the African Development Bank to a tune of 1.8 billion Ugandan shillings, the project will run for 2 years. A specific group of business community targeting to participate in the oil and gas value chain will be trained in order to foster resilient enterprises.
There is a deliberate focus on women and youth in this project. And you realize that there is a focus of at least 200 enterprises that are led by women and youth for gender mainstreaming purposes. The new job opportunities created for about 500 people. Juliet talked about this, and that is also a great opportunity. Even as we talk about enterprises building their capacity, there is also that aspect.
A similar initiative is to be implemented in Tanzania to business communities along the EACOP from the Mutukula border to the port of Tanga.
The grant was provided in response to a request from Uganda and Tanzania for assistance in preparing local business communities to be able to retain a portion of the 3.5 billion investment in the construction of a crude oil pipeline from Hoima in western Uganda to Tanga on the coast of Tanzania, as agreed by the two governments in 2016.
The Petroleum Authority Uganda, Minister of Energy and Mineral Development, and the Alberta and Graben Oil and Gas Districts Association signed an endorsement board in Mubende district as a symbol of commitment towards collaboration for the success of the project. Dennis Igoa and Robin Yoso for UBC News in Mubende.
Now, cottage or backyard gardening is becoming popular in a number of communities, mainly those with small plots of land in urban areas, but with a farming background. Vegetables, tomatoes, bananas, fruits, flowers, medicinal plants and sugarcane are some of the main crops grown in compounds and verandas in the urban areas. Now, backyard gardening is practiced by both the affluent and the struggling alike, and it provides a modest, natural, nutritious food and a link between rural and urban areas. Deo Hapimana with the story.
I am not an agricultural person by training, but I say it's my passion.
Florence Wabyale is an affluent lady who has embraced cottage or backyard gardening with passion. A mother of 6 and a wife. To invested on, Wabyale's love for agriculture is as inspiring as it is tempting and factually infectious.
Whenever my husband leaves home, he must have breakfast. So I make sure that he leaves home when he has taken all these values, so that he is a very strong man at work. Strong.
For the record, Wabyale has not bought vegetables for the last 15 years because she grows her own.
I've managed to grow spring onions, I've managed to grow spinach, skuma, oatmeal, tula. I have also managed to grow rosemary, all these crops, and I have garlic leaves. All these crops are not only vegetables, but also vegetables and medicinal crops.
She grows cabbages, amaranthus, onions, carrots, eggplants, fruits, medicinal plants, strawberries, spinach, tomatoes, maize, flowers and so on in wooden troughs, boxes, gunny bags and tins in her backyard garden.
In a supermarket, this goes for 2,000.
Wabyale's gardening is an example of a modest affluent mother who has managed to put up a leafy green pot garden of highly nutritious plants in her compound, pathways and veranda with little or no hassle. Wabyale's motivation to do backyard gardening was mainly to fulfill family food needs.
Where I have a big number of relatives that we are supporting, and feeding them became rather a burden.
These include her 6 children, husband, members of her extended family, and students in her nursing and midwifery school.
We have been in position to nurture and educate our relatives. I am proud to say that we've been in position to read up our family to the tune of more than 33 degrees as I speak.
Wabyale regularly mulches, irrigates, and adds organic manure to get the best of yields. She does not spray her crops, but rather plants tobacco and rosemary plants around the garden to keep away vicious insects that might spread some diseases. Wabyale's garden has saved her from routine market shopping hassles and also helped her family to enjoy homegrown nutritious food. And from her 15 years of savings and sales of her produce, Wabyale has been able to build a school of nursing and midwifery, the Wakiso Comprehensive Institute of Health Sciences.
And our students passed on, but this has been as a result of the good feeding that these students are having, and also the nurturing principles.
Away from Makiso, where Babyale operates, a young man in the Chira municipality, Chireka Urban Center, Aliwala, Paru, has utilized a road reserve to raise a garden with almost all sorts of vegetables. Like Babyale, Aliwala grows vegetables plus sugar canes and even bananas on a small plot of land along the road between Chireka and Mandela National Stadium, Nambole. Aliwala, however, does not only grow for the stomach, but also sells some produce to buy himself other family needs. His garden is, however, not as sophisticated as that of Babyale because he carries out mixed farming through intensive cultivation on land and gunny bags. For Aliwala, it is a full-time engagement as he has to sell his produce directly from the garden, mainly cabbages, eggplants, and tomatoes to persons passing by. What is common, however, to both Babyale and Aliwala is that they are both able to provide for their families through this innovation. Babyale and Aliwala are two living examples of persons who have been able to carry out backyard gardening to feed their families on nutritious food on a daily basis without going to the market. Think about backyard gardening, and as the wise say, you shall not want. Habimana Deo, reporting for this news.
That story on backyard gardening almost reminds me of my mother doing just the same thing and feeding us all. What a surprise. And wow. Anyways, on the international scene, the price of ginger has left a bad taste in consumers' mouths after demand caused prices to rocket, with experts comparing the trend to the beetroot and garlic craze of the HIV crisis, now a popular ingredient in home remedies to soothe sore throats and the common cold. The root has seen an explosion in popularity due to the COVID-19 and its supposed ability to mitigate symptoms. Let's take a look at the details.
And ginger are among the most in-demand commodities in South Africa, as more and more people use them to boost their immune systems. Both are used in home remedies such as soups, juices and extracts for their reported healing properties, as South Africa battles a second wave of COVID-19. But a serious shortage of ginger has led to the root now selling for over $200 per 10-kilogram box in wholesale markets.
People, are convinced that it's worth their while to reconsider, what they drink, etc. The same happened with the price of lemon, some months ago, where the prices shot up because people all of a sudden start to use that as an alternative to boost their immune system. But what has added to the problem right now is that ginger is currently also, like pineapples, used to brew alcoholic beverages,
And with the alcohol ban still in place, it means these twin pressures have led to increased demand for ginger not seen before. Some supermarkets have, however, managed to offer garlic and ginger at lower prices, and experts believe that the market could follow suit.
Now, it's a short-term phenomena, I think, within the market. The market normally high prices correct high prices, so we will see an increase in supply, but that's not going to happen overnight. And I suspect as we then maybe after the middle of September, middle of February, when we see that we move to a different level of the lockdown, and then the demand for that for ginger for the wrong reason, I think will then deteriorate, in my opinion. The same happened with pineapples during the course of last year.
The price of garlic and ginger becomes so exorbitant that most hawker stalls here simply cannot afford to stock them anymore. and that means they're not available in most marginalized communities. And that means that the two might be beyond the reach of the pockets of many South Africans until their prices become more affordable.
In the world of sports, the Uganda under-20 national football team will play against Tanzania and Namibia in a mini tournament as part of the preparations for the upcoming AFCON encounter that will climax February this year in Mauritania. The team will travel to Tanzania on Monday, 1st February, and will head to Mauritania on 10th February immediately after the tournament. Now, earlier the Hippos played 2 practice matches against KCCA FC where they outclassed the league giants 3-2 and 4-3. The team will continue intensifying drills in other games against URA FC and Vipers SC on Saturday and Sunday. Hippos will lock horns on Group A where they will face off hosts Mauritania, Cameroon and Mozambique in their competition. Bashir Mutiaba, Hippos spokesperson, says the clash in Tanzania will help build confidence amongst the players ahead of the AFCON.
Okwongeramu okumaanyi okulaba nti ttiimu eno yeeteekera bulungi empaka ttiimu egenda kuba yeetaba mu friendlies eziri international mu ggwanga erya Tanzania gyegenda okampinga okumala ennaku 9 ngeri ejja kuba esimbula ennaku z'omwezi nga lumu mwezi ogwokubiri ngeri mu ggwanga erya Tanzania lijosambira friendlies n'amawanga nga Tanzania ne Namibia. Olwo nno olinaaba evuddaawo eryoka eyolekere mu ggwanga Mauritania gyegenda okwetaba mu mpaka zaayo ezisookedde ddala ku mutendera gwa lubuga lwa nsonga 20 ku lukalu lwa Africa.
Well, we've come to the end of this night's bulletin, and just like the night's bulletin, we're also coming close to the end of this month of January 2021. Can you believe it? So if you haven't gotten rolling yet, please do start right about now. The year is not about to wait. My name is Wadulo Mark Arnold Mugalu Muhammad. On sign language, from the team we must say good night and have yourselves peaceful rest.
Welcome to English in a Minute. We all know it's important to have good friends in your life. But this phrase doesn't seem to encourage friendship.
Have you met the new guy, Crisp?
I have, and I'm going to keep him at arm's length.
What? Why? I mean,